What is up, and welcome back to the Dan Evans Show right here on the one and only Sports Illustrated. I got to tell you guys, today, these guests are the definition of built different. Their story starts in golf way back when the internet was basically the Wild West, and they took a swing on something called golf.com. And I'm telling you right now, there's a plot twist in that story. If you haven't yet read their book, Shoveling Shit, it is unbelievable. I just finished it on the plane last night. It is beyond a tale that should be made into a movie. But the lessons in there are unbelievable. They go from that and they parlay this into this tech behemoth called Buddy Media that is now a part of Salesforce and was part of a near $1 billion acquisition. And once again, guys, there are so many more highlights to this journey. I can't wait to get into this conversation today. I'm buzzing, and I couldn't be more excited to welcome on. Oh, and we can't forget, these guys are also team owners in the Grass League. I mean, probably one of the coolest, most up-and-coming things in golf. I'm done. I'm going to stop rambling. I'm going to get into this thing. I am so excited right now to welcome to the show Mike and Cass Lazerow. How you guys doing this morning?
What a great intro, Dan. Thank you so much.
I felt like I left out so much. I mean, we could have get into a 40 under 40 list. We're talking, top moms in dominating tech. That was another list you guys are named on. But golf somehow is is it the starting point? Kind of. Golf is sort of a thread in this all. Where does golf fit in this whole story for you guys?
I would say that golf fits in the sense that Mike was an avid golfer. I walked onto the golf team my senior year in college, so I became hooked and got the bug. And our dating life was all about golf. So when he first visited me, and I actually told this to one of our friends the other day, I convinced my parents, who joined Robert Trent Jones Golf Club in Virginia, to let me take this new guy I'm apparently dating to RTJ to hit some balls, because he had been talking so much, this big game about how he was good. And I'm like, he's going to have the worst swing, and then I'm going to have to break up with him. It's going to be over. It's going to be awful. And we get on the range. I purposely am in front of him because I just don't want to see it. And I just want to hear it first. And I just hear the perfect smack compression of the ball over and over. And I take a deep breath. I turn around. I look at the swing, and it's beautiful.
Mike, what pressure? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I knew. Listen, Cass is an athlete. Her real sport was tennis. She was a very competitive tennis player, and then played pro. Who walks onto a college golf team? That's kind of crazy. But she not only walked on, but actually was very good. And so let's just say I'm not what they call an athlete, but I can hit a golf ball. Or at the time, I could hit a golf ball. Some could say that I've gone backwards since. And here's this like hot woman who also was kick-ass in business, who played golf. Like, sign me up, right? Like, what else do I need in life?
I mean, I love this idea that sort of, and I think it really should apply to more people. Let's see the swing and see if we've got anything to work
Correct.
with here.
Thank you. Thank you for actually validating my test.
Well, and these were the days where you can't do a date night at Top Golf. I mean, you got to get out and get on some real grass and go play
Correct.
some real golf. It's not.
Yeah, I got to see the mental game. I got to see how he has course management. Can he get up and down? All of it counts.
So I'm so curious because, one of the things I was reading, like I said, I just finished the book last night on the plane flight home. I was out at the Waste Management and wanted to get back to the studio for this conversation. But this idea that you guys got into business together while you were still dating, before you were married, that to me is wild. Most people, maybe, I don't know, take up maybe play some golf. I don't know.
Adopt a dog maybe to try it out first. Yeah.
But getting into business together, I mean, I guess first the golf swing. Okay, this could work. Next, can we be full-blown business partners? All right, I see this works. I mean, Was that wild to be dating and going into business together?
I don't think so. Mike, you might have a different answer, but when we were working separately and dating and we were living together at the time, I think we both came back each night asking each other for their expertise. So I was in sales. It's like the worst like fielding of me in a position ever. I am not a salesperson. I can return things, but I cannot sell things. And I would be asking Mike questions nonstop because he's an incredible salesperson. He gets, visionary stuff. He understands fundraising, understands how to make people feel a certain way. And he had his own business, UWire, and is coming back and asking things about scaling, operations. And so we got into this very comfortable rhythm that I just couldn't think when I started golf.com. Like, he was like my first draft pick.
Round one.
Yeah.
Mike, I mean, starting businesses in college, were you just destined for this? Did you always know, or did you kind of stumble into the entrepreneurial world and find a home there?
Yeah, so I didn't go to Northwestern University thinking I'd be an entrepreneur. I actually went to the journalism school at Northwestern, Medill School of Journalism, which I'm still very involved with. And two things became apparent. One was I'm an awful journalist. I had a hard time keeping facts straight. And I remember misspelling a dead guy's name and his family came after me. And yeah, I just wasn't what they would call a great journalist. And then the second part is the internet I thought was going to be huge. So I, a little older than a lot of your audience. I'm, 51 and went to Northwestern in 1993. And the commercial internet grew while I was at Northwestern. And so if you're in journalism school, all of a sudden this technology that empowers free flow of information everywhere in the world, it just seemed big. And so I focused my efforts on like, what does this mean? And it ended up with a business. I ended up with a business at Northwestern that ultimately went public through a merger with a company called Student Advantage. And once an entrepreneur feels that success, even though it wasn't our biggest money maker, it felt great. I was working on stuff I loved. I was passionate. I never turned back. I've never applied for a job. I've never had a job. I've never had a resume. I just keep building stuff, which, and doing it alongside Cass just, really makes me incredibly lucky person.
I mean, Wikipedia is the resume. That's all you need. You know what I mean? Like, listen, if you're
that
curious,
came later. Someone wrote that much later. That's not something you do yourself in college. That's for sure.
So, I mean, talk about the early days of golf on the internet. Right now, I guess maybe it's my feed, my algorithm, my whole Instagram is golf stuff. Right. I mean, that's our whole world. But you guys were way ahead of that. Nobody was looking at this game, golf. Tiger Woods is sort of exploding on the scene. And you guys are now taking the universe of golf and bringing it to the .com space. Did you have an idea that you were really onto something, or was this sort of a hobby project of sorts?
It definitely, it started off as just a hobby in terms of there were 4 of us that I was tracking all the stats for on a spreadsheet. And think about this. This was 1997, right? So Excel wasn't like the strongest like it is now. So it was Mike, myself, my dad, and my brother. And my brother, Mike, and I didn't belong to private courses. So we were always having to go back to the same public course and enter in our handicap, and it was driving me nuts. But nonetheless, we would all enter all of our scores, like fairways hit, putts in regulation, up and downs, everything like that. And we'd have this ranking system. And my brother and I estimated the USGA handicap really, really closely. We worked on that for a while. And every time the spreadsheet would come back, somehow I would like fall in the rankings. And I was convinced my brother was cheating. So I said to Mike, because everything's booming. You got to remember this. This is like the start of the internet. You've got United Airlines coming online. So you can book reservations. And at the interactive firm where I was working, I was in charge of like that whole account in terms of like sales and upselling and all that kind of stuff. And I looked at Mike one night and I said, this is absolute crap. James is cheating. You've got to help me figure out a way to like lock it down so we just enter everything online. I said, because we're trading all of the, slope and course ratings so that we can have like a equitable ranking system. And he goes, wait a second, I have an idea. What if we build all the golf content that everyone wants? And remember, like the masters were not allowing you to, see any scores online. What if we do this? We get the USGA handicap online and we allow people to book tee times and we build golf.com.
Wow. I mean, really, I mean, like the ideas you were piecing together, I mean, ultimately really were what the future of golf online really turned into. I mean, I rarely call a golf course to book a tee time anymore. I'm going online because I want to see them all. It's tough to be like, what do you have around noon? Oh, nothing. Oh, how about it early?
Right.
You know, and all that stuff in golf news and in my handicap as well. Like it's
right.
All of this stuff is what turned into the modern era of how golf is done. I think the thing that's so interesting though is you guys were clearly on a trajectory. You had something, it was making sense, it was clicking, and it was getting a lot of attention. And you guys kind of went into some business strategy decisions that seemed to make the most sense at the time, but ended up kind of catastrophically imploding almost overnight. I mean, is that right? I mean, there was a merger. How did that go?
Yeah, so we built the business for a year and a half, and we started getting acquisition interests. And there was this company from Silicon Valley called chipshot.com. Some of your readers who are old and listeners who are old enough may remember they were making custom golf equipment, knockoff equipment, so same foundries as Titleist and TaylorMade, for a quarter of the price out of Silicon Valley, literally out of like right outside San Francisco. And they'd raised a lot of money through Sequoia. Sequoia had also backed Google and Microsoft and the incredible companies. And the stock market is up and to the right. This is the dot-com craze. eToys goes public, $40 billion valuation. We are very young. I'm 23 at the time. I had not been through any business cycles. I assumed things went up and to the right. And so we agreed to merge the company, really sell the company, but for stock to ChipShot. And the idea was we were going to go public. And, if eToys and pets.com and all these things could go public, why not golf, right? Why not ChipShot? And let's just say that didn't happen. The dot-com crash of April 2000 took it all down. The company went bankrupt. We got a call from the founders saying, even though we have your bank account and everything, we can't pay for any of your payroll. You can buy the business back. And, we hit the ground running. We, tried to raise money. It took us a little while, finally raised money, which is another golf story. We met a guy who was a member, Bill Weaver, member at Medinah Country Club outside Chicago. And he was a lawyer, a tech lawyer. He loved the internet. He said, listen, come out to Medinah. I'll do a lunch, pitch to my golf buddies. And we walked out of that meeting with at least 90% of the money we needed to not only buy it back, but also to fund it. And then, frankly, we got lucky. I mean, when we started, as you heard, when we started golf.com, it was really about recreational golfers. We had no idea that there was this 21-year-old kid who would go to the Masters, win by 12 strokes, the largest margin in tournament history. He shattered every record, every stereotype, every expectation. At the time, he was as big as Taylor Swift globally, right? You say Tiger anywhere on the planet, even more than Michael Jackson in many ways. And he was not only the youngest Masters champion, he was the first Black champion, the first Asian champion. And this game that had been kind of insular and tradition bound and very polite now had a little swagger. And we found ourselves with the #1 golf destination. So, a lot of business is luck, right? Are you in the right place at the right time? And we say all the time that we have to thank Tiger and his supporting cast of goofballs, Phil and the rest of them, for making stories that brought people to golf.com to create a business that ended up with a $25 million sale to the company that used to own your brand, Sports Illustrated. So Time
Wow.
Inc., when we sold to Time Inc. They owned Golf Magazine, they owned Sports Illustrated. Those companies, Time Inc., Time Warner, don't really exist anymore. But we sold not only because it was a boatload of cash for the first time, but Sports Illustrated was the thing. Sports Illustrated was still a very thick magazine. Golf Magazine was a thick magazine, culturally relevant, and the internet was great for golf.com, which hasn't been great for the magazine business, which is why you guys reinvented yourselves.
Mike, do you consider yourselves lucky?
Oh, 100%. Any entrepreneur who doesn't, I mean, look at Apple, right? Apple was out of business until Bill Gates decided to fund it in like 96, 97. And the reason wasn't because of Apple. He just needed some competition for antitrust stuff. And every business has had those moments where it's like, oh, this isn't happening. Or they get that call that's like, yes, we want to be your customer, or that hire that's transformative. Anyone who thinks that everything that they do is solely related to their genius and hard work is a moron.
That's such a realistic way to put it, really. Let me know if I have this timeline right. So you guys do some fundraising, you build the initial stages of golf.com. There's this merger, sort of acquisition, no cash exchange, all done through paper. Then that thing, the bubble bursts, it implodes. You guys have to go back out and re-fundraise money. You've kind of probably burned up a lot of your contacts. You're like, hey guys, that money's all gone.
Yep.
Everything's used, but yet we still need more. So we raise more, And it was a 6-year journey from that point of implosion to what took place with the final sale with Time. And at the end of that, you guys made everyone whole and sort of solved all of these asks and sort of fixed it all. I mean, is that right?
It is, in terms of anybody who reinvested in us definitely made their money back and more, which was awesome. And Bill Weaver, who got us, our fundraising, God bless him. He made the money he deserves. It was a tough 6 years because that crash took a lot of, out of the markets. And we were basically what I called limping along, mostly dead, partly alive, waiting for, basically what happened to be Tiger and the wanting to be all over, avid golfers. And so when that industry started to come out, Mike's one of the best salespeople I've ever met. And he started going up against everybody, including Golf Magazine. And we were winning deals because we had the URL and because we were scrappy and actually showing scoring, especially with the Masters, which wasn't happening back then. And we did it because Mike had a brother at Brown University. And we basically we built the bar. Each year we'd add something to the fraternity house, and 20 brothers would stay up all morning, all day, all night, entering hole by hole so that golfers like you, me, and Mike could watch the Masters while we're at work.
That's incredible. I mean, and really, so the sale happens. You've built this thing. This is sort of like, I guess like your youthful years, if you will.
Yep.
I mean, you're in your 20s, you're doing this thing. How do you, I don't know, how do you do it again? How do you say, you know what, we're going to start from scratch and we're going to move on and we're going to build another company and we're going to go through this entire battle and war? I don't know. How do you not just take it easy? And I get it. At the sale at the time of, when you sold golf.com, you had partners, you had investors. All that money didn't come back to you guys. There was a lot of it that was spread out. You guys still did well through it, if I understand correctly. But how do you do it again?
Well, we assumed that when we sold the business, we knew it wasn't going to take care of us forever.
Mhm.
So you asked a really good question about making the investors whole. Most of the first investors were so upset with us, they did not reinvest. This was before a startup culture of angel investing. For many of our investors, friends, family, colleagues, it was their first investment. And to have to call them up and say, oh, we thought we were going public and this is going to be a great outcome. We've now lost all your money.
Oh,
Can we have some more? That didn't end well. We had a family member who had invested who threatened, you know, basically to kill us. So it was very like heightened. Um, we raised money from mainly new investors, but some of our supporters continued.
Our our
Now,
parents. Yeah.
fast forward when we sold, we had to give away so much of the business to get that deal done that we made a
yeah.
few $1,000,000, right? We thought we were rich until we moved to New York City. I remember like our first rent was $11,000 a month. And I was like, oh, yeah, like I never heard of this. My last rent before Cass, I was living in Chicago and it was $500 a month. And so we knew we had to make money. We, more importantly, we now knew we were entrepreneurs who could do it. And when the next idea came along that Cass liked, I have 10 ideas a day. She likes one every decade or so. We jumped in, and that was Buddy Media, which we also got lucky because we started, building in the Facebook ecosystem right as social media was taking off. And so the irony of all this is not the irony. I think if you talk to entrepreneurs, they don't start out because of the money. For us, it was freedom. My dad had worked for himself. He had mental health challenges, and it was very difficult for him. The idea that I was going to sit behind a desk all day and work for someone else, that scared me. I wanted freedom
Yeah.
more than money. And we really never thought about it. And so we launched Buddy Media on the back of, Facebook opening up their platform, and it was one of the fastest growing software companies of all time. We got it to over 50 million of annual recurring revenue within 3 years of launching the product. We thought we were going public, and then we had inbound interest and offers from 5 big companies. And that led to, hey, do we want to take $1 billion with the investors off the table, or do we want to build? We felt like it was our time to sell and not take the execution risk and the public company risk. And that was a great decision for a lot of reasons. The biggest reason is there was major platform risk, meaning we were building on top of Facebook. And one of my last meetings with Sheryl Sandberg at Facebook, when I asked her, where should I be focused as a company to help Facebook? Her comment was, you don't want to be between us and our customers. And the only place we were at the time was in between them and their customers. There was no other place we were. And so when we sold, it was, we felt like it was a right time, a lot of money that would change our family for many generations and give us the freedom we wanted to do stupid shit like the grass league team and other stuff that we've done.
I mean, the trajectory of that is so incredible. And again, I recommend everybody listening to go find the book, whether you read it, you listen to it, whatever it is. Shoveling Shit is this incredible story. And in the part that I think is so interesting in it is even in the Buddy Media journey, there was a point where cash dried up again. Is that right? Where financial hardships happened once again, and you had to go to your team and say, listen, we're kind of in trouble right now.
When you're an entrepreneur, whatever you start with is never going to be what you end with as a company, because customer demands change, customer needs change. And although Mike was so far ahead with social media, it was a game of really seeing we were early, we weren't too early, and what was it that was going to stick and cause, what we needed, which was recurring revenue. So we went from basically a online currency on Facebook, which we were told nobody wanted, to a custom app builder on top of Facebook, which brought a ton of money, which allowed us to hire a team, but wasn't scalable because it just meant we had to keep hiring designers and project managers until Mike had another, light bulb that said, let's be a SaaS company. Let's build a platform. Let's let big brands understand how to reach their customers and communicate to them. And that was a big jump. That made me have to lay off a ton of people because we were basically an agency model before. And it was one of those, oh shit moments where, the rubber hits the road and you've got to be really honest and transparent with your teams. And, but I think those are the moments that make entrepreneurs great, right?
You talk about, absolutely. You talk about that moment where that oh shit moment. I love it. In the book, you talked about you guys were in, maybe it was like a board meeting or something like that. And this sort of moment arise where we're like, this is the clear logical pivot we have to make. We've got to get out of the game space, and we have to satisfy what's going on in this world of bringing businesses into advertising and social media. That's the real miss. That's right. the place we need to be. But Cass, I love the part in the book where you said you had a near panic attack.
Oh, it was a panic attack. Yes. Yeah.
I love that idea. Go ahead. Please tell me about that.
Yeah, I left the board meeting. Mike has a way of saying something that sounds more real than maybe perhaps him just thinking out loud. But once he said, like, I've been considering moving us to a SaaS company, the entire board, I mean, it was like whiplash. I looked around, everyone was like, yes, 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 yes. And I knew the operational impact. And so I just got up and I went into my office and I took a deep breath, because when you operate a company, especially when Mike's kind of leading you toward the land, right? I look at it like I'm on a boat. It takes a lot of faith to paddle, right, in the right direction with the right timing and, all in unison. And I literally was going to have to stop the boat, rearrange the rowers, get rid of some of the team, throw them overboard, and then get them to believe our new message. And so I think my panic was not that he was wrong. It was never that. Yeah. It was that there was a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And don't forget, at that time, we had 3 small kids under 5.
Wow. I mean, I so respect that idea, because there are moments in life where you're like, it's not that I'm panicking of whether this is right or wrong. It's that I'm overwhelmed by the fact that I realize that this is so right that there's no more debate. Like, it is solved here. Now I'm curious, Mike, for you, because you are, like you said, 1,000 ideas at a time and more every single day. For you in that moment, did you feel that same weight of the moment, or were you more just sort of, aha, we got it, boom, solved?
Yeah, I mean, listen,
Mike,
the reason we work well together.
Mike, be truthful here.
We work well together because I'm a little crazy. I throw things over the fence and Cass has to figure out what to do with it. I don't do it on purpose. I'm not as logical as Cass. I don't always see like clearly the path. I don't know if you've ever like had a great idea or even a bad idea, but you're like, oh, how would I even put that into motion? Right. And so an idea without the ability to like execute it is just like a hope and a dream. So Cass she's not a pessimist. Like, I would never describe her that. She's just a radical realist.
Yeah.
And so I get excited about ideas and wouldn't it be awesome if, and Cass immediately thinks, oh crap, like we can't execute that. It would have to do this. I've changed the people. We'd have to get bigger office. We'd have to do all this stuff. I don't let details get in the way, and you need both. You need to be able to think, dream, and eat dirt at the same time. And I think that's a big part of our partnership, because Cass not only executes the stuff we agree makes sense, but she says no on a lot of stuff that just isn't practical or just stupid ideas.
I love this idea, and it's sort of, I think you guys sort of present yourself like this, and I definitely get it from the book and that you guys are opposite in a very good way, like sort of a yin to a yang. But here was the thought I had. I said, and actually, I listened to somebody. I forgot what I was listening to. Whatever, we all listen to a million TED Talks and podcasts and everything. But they were talking about two people that were opposites. They were saying this football player likes reading, and this football player doesn't like reading. So on a micro level, you would think that they are opposite. But at the end of the day, they're both football players, meaning that you guys have these very big differences, but at the same time have these very big similarities. Yes. Meaning that you guys do have that tenacity, that drive, that belief, that thing, that two engines on the same airplane to fly this thing to a destination. Maybe one's left, maybe one's right, but both together unified on a mission. And to me, I think that is so beautiful and so incredible. I mean, do you guys see it that way, or am I nuts over here?
No, Dan, you just described it in such a neat way. I haven't heard anybody describe it like that. But yes, I mean, our love language became our interests in business and really never having a day job, right? And mine was building teams. Mike was building visions, right? He's building dreams for us. And we had the same work ethic, which is really important for founders to really understand. Like, if you're going to pick someone to own a business with and run it, you better have the same work ethic. Doesn't mean you can't take breaks, but you better have the same work ethic. And we have the same morals and values, right? And we wanted the same things. Yes, we have very different tastes in music. I will say Mike is a Phish head, and I like silence. We have different tastes on, like, I'm more of an introvert and he's more of an extrovert, but we make it work. And actually, in most of the hard things in life, I would say almost all of them, our opposite skill sets really help. So I was saying this to him the other day, when the shit hits the fan, we bring both views. And we're not micromanaging each other or trying to prove that we're right. One of us is right with their thoughts and ideas. We bring our expertise to everything we do, including raising a family, investing, you name it. And it's been really helpple.
You mentioned Phish, and 150 concerts. Is that a real number? Is
that more than that? It's like
more now.
I think it's like up past 220.
Cass, do you go with, or are you like, hey, have fun?
I had been, listen, I know every Phish song by, I would say, the first 4 chords. Mike, tell me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty good at naming them when we're in the car.
And there are 1,000 of them. So
and I have only been to one show, and I will never go again. The songs don't end.
What is it about them? Why do you connect so deeply with them? Obviously, they're, legendary, iconic, but just tell me, please. I'm a big music guy, so I'm very interested.
So for me, it's the only relationship I've had that's, other than my family, that's longer than Cass. And, I've been with Phish, seeing them and the community since 1991. And really it comes down to 2 major things. One, I love the music. 4 virtuosos. No 2 shows are the same. They have songs, but it's all about improvisation and listening to each other and creating like new moments. And number 2 is the community. They're people I only know through the community. I don't know what they do in real life, but we've been together for 40 years, some of them. I've only seen 4 shows this week alone. I was with the community down in Mexico, Phish Mexico, and the Mexican Riviera outside Cancun. And, like all marriages, there's a lot of me, there's a lot of we, but you got to have a little we. Sorry, there's a lot of we, especially with Cass and Mike, right? Like, we work together. So no one accuses us of not spending time together. We also fly fish together, play golf together. We have a lot of fun together. The one me is kind of, I disappear every now and then, maybe a little too often, to see what we can all agree is the greatest band in the history of the world.
Oh, I love it. Cass, I feel like you are holding back various eye rolls at different points. and that's okay. That totally is okay. But
Yeah,
please, 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 just go
you
ahead.
know what? It is true that Mike's had this long-standing relationship with Phish way before me, and it truly is like a love in his life.
Yeah.
So I would never prevent him from being with Trey and the band, even though the songs don't end for 16 minutes. But no, he's right. You have to have, just because we're two different people, but we also have very different interests as well, which makes it totally okay because I don't I don't want to do the same things that he wants to do, and we're fine with that.
Yeah. Where I mean, you talked about in some of those days during the building and the grind, you've got young kids along the way. How, I mean, in part of the book, you talk about work-life balance doesn't exist and make sense when you are building something so big and so incredible. But how do you do it then? I mean, do you've got a crib in the corner while you're doing a board meeting, or how does it
Pretty
go?
much like when Viv was born, our third child, I was nursing while and putting her down on the ground while then building desks, IKEA desks with like three drills that I had that were all charging. So we didn't think of it as balance. We thought of it as kind of integration. And our
Yeah.
kids grew up at the company. So after school and stuff, if we didn't have after school care or a babysitter, they'd come and hang out at the office. And, they're our boys have a godfather who's our other co-founder, Jeff Ragavan, and Kurt Giel, and they just became part of the fabric of Buddy Media. It's not easy though, but I will tell all the other owners out there who have small kids that it's okay to put 100% into something while you're growing it. And it doesn't mean that everything else goes to zero. It
Yeah.
just means that it goes to probably 80%. And 80% is a really good score. And
Sure.
if you have the right kind of support system, which we did, thank God we found one of the greatest babysitters of all time, we felt secure and safe and we never missed anything big. And the kids, when they were little, were getting love. So like, I just want to tell parents out there, like, don't beat yourself up. You can't be 100% in every category.
Yeah. You're so right that 80% is still a great score.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you only have so many 100%
Yes.
available.
You only have
And
one, actually. My belief
yeah.
is you only have one thing you can give 100% to.
Wow. There was a part that you also spoke about. Again, I'm going to keep referencing this book. Like I said, I finished it on the plane last night. I was riveted. I'm like taking notes and, but beyond this conversation, there were notes for myself and business and things and just finding it so interesting. But there was a part where you guys needed some office space and that you had to take over 2 floors. It was a whole thing. And you determined, well, wait, we'll just live here and then we can give up our rent and we can afford this whole thing. Were the kids there for that part
That
of
was
time?
that was a golf.com decision.
Okay.
So we decided that if we played our cards right, and again, this is where I think luck comes into play
Yeah.
because entrepreneurs have to bet on themselves. So you have a little bit of an ego that you are going to bet on yourself. So we bet that we could get this office space. The guy wouldn't give us just one floor. He wanted more money. He didn't think like we were the real deal. So we took all 2 and then we just lived up there, which was a great commute. It was a little bit risky because we had to grow into that space, but that's what you do as an entrepreneur. You take risks and you move chess pieces up the board in hopes that things align and you get a little luck.
Yeah. So did you guys have kids at that point in time or were you guys
No,
still?
we had one kid in
Okay.
Chicago. So we had Miles, our oldest. So we had
Yeah.
one. And by the time he was born, we had filled up both floors and then moved out into an actual house.
Wow. I mean, just it's so fun and interesting and fascinating. So after we get through, we've got Buddy Media, and now this behemoth gets acquired by Salesforce, and things I imagine change a lot. And Mike, you actually took on a very high level executive role within Salesforce through that process. Though you didn't have to fill out a job application to get there, obviously. But I'm curious for you, was that a big shift going from I am, leading the way with my vision and my ideas. And now I'm a part of something, a big part, but a part of something that is now bigger than just me. How was that transition? How did you fit into that or through that?
So it was very different and it was awesome. And I say that because we were lucky to sell to a business that was still being run by one of the great entrepreneurs of our generation, definitely the greatest software entrepreneurs. And I remember, early on, as we were talking about the deal, Marc Benioff, who was the founder and CEO of Salesforce, who I negotiated the deal directly with him. This wasn't we didn't have bankers. We didn't have his people. It was literally two of us at one of his townhouses or houses in San Francisco. He made a comment which really stuck, which is like, if we cut our arms open and let the blood flow, it's the same blood, it's entrepreneurial blood. And we need that blood in this company. We need this blood, to propel us forward, to reinvent. And this was when they had 6,000 people, not the 100,000 they have. It was it was worth a little less than $16 billion. It's now over 200 billion. And, the next 4 years were both difficult because I was working really hard, traveling the world, as chief strategy officer, at the end, where I was just working with a lot of our biggest customers. And I had a young family and we were still investing. So as part of our deal, we kind of grandfathered in our ability to invest in other entrepreneurs, which at the time wasn't allowed at Salesforce. You couldn't both be an executive and invest. And after 4 years, I was a little burned out, and I told Mark, and he got it. I put in more time than I thought I would. I made contributions, which I still am proud about, including helping to grow the marketing cloud, which is one of the fastest growing parts of Salesforce even today. And, we shifted to kind of, more investing. So we have a venture capital business, or, it's small, about 400 million that we've invested there. And then, we bought businesses, everything from, the golf business, which is, the golf team, to executive search, to others that basically, let us be a part of the team, not exactly reinvent the world, but it's kind of what we do. And so we love it.
Man, it's so interesting to me, the dynamical shifts that keep sort of happening, but yet it's all still in this very energetic forward motion, but yet keeps changing shapes and evolving and sort of, I don't even know. I think of like the movie Flubber, you know what I mean? Where it's like this thing that
You're
don't even know what it
looking
is.
at me and not Cass.
No, Mike.
Cass, I'm curious, during that time, so Buddy Media moves into Salesforce. Mike heads in and takes on an executive role there.
Yes.
What was next for you during that process?
I definitely saw that even though we were at 80% with the kids, two of them were kind of acting up in school, right? And there's only so many times you can send a babysitter in to deal with those kind of problems. And it just wasn't how Mike and I really wanted to raise our kids. So I asked Mark to get back, to home. And I think we spent, until we really started the VC firm, I probably spent, 6-7 years being a full-time stay-at-home mom, which I still think to this day is the hardest job I've ever had.
Yeah.
And it is, you have people that you cannot fire, you cannot put on a performance improvement plan, that you can't give reviews to. It is so much harder than running companies because of the alignment that you are loving them unconditionally no matter what they do. So I went back, but then we started Lazerow Ventures. So we were starting to invest in the tech community in New York City and really giving back to them. And then come, 2020 or 2019, we started our first VC firm, which was Velvet Sea Ventures, named after a great Phish song.
Oh, no way.
Velvet Sea. Yes.
It full circle.
Full circle.
I get
Threading the needle, Dan.
it almost seems so calculated when you look back at it all. Oh man, and some of the investments you guys have made are into companies that we all know. I mean, but at the time they weren't. How would you guys go through that process? Are you guys looking for leaders? You go, you know what? I believe in you. Or are you guys looking at the project? Is it everything? Are you saying you guys are onto something here? It's what you're holding on to. How do you make those decisions?
Well, before writing the book, we really didn't know, and we hadn't really thought too much about that. But we spent a lot of time thinking about how we're making decisions on two things: how to greenlight ideas as an entrepreneur, but also how to greenlight investments. We've done over 100 investments personally, and we love entrepreneurs. I start meetings with entrepreneurs assuming we're going to make the investment because I love entrepreneurs. Cass starts it with like assuming we're not going to make it. And then it's basically, can we meet in between? And we've gotten, I think, very lucky to be around some great companies, starting with Facebook. We were also an investor in Facebook, which obviously turned out very well. And companies like Tumblr early on, but more recently, companies like Liquid Death, which, even before it launched, we're talking about just an idea that Mike Cesario had. I think we have an ability to just kind of see a little into the future and have a good feel for what could work and what could not work. And typically it comes down to like, we're both product people. We like feeling it, right? And we ask, so what's the product? How's it different? How big's the market, right? Like how many customers are there and like, what do they pay? How are you going to market it? So how are you going to get it to market is for, and then the whole operations piece is a big part of like, we're kind of, we operate businesses. So can we operate this profitably? And then the last one, the sixth, is just back of the envelope unit economics, like the financials. You know, table stakes is an entrepreneur who we love, who we want to have dinner with, who we're okay being in the trenches with for 10 years. People ask why we've done so much with Gary Vee, who started his businesses from our conference room and is one of our great friends and collaborators. We own a pickleball team, and we're part of V Friends and Empathy Wines, and we've done he was part of Buddy Media's growth, right? And the reason is we like entrepreneurs who are like family, who we could see ourselves just being with for a long, long time. And each of those businesses that I've talked about, including Facebook, there's been a lot of great execution, but also a lot of luck. So, don't forget, like without the iPhone, Facebook probably isn't Facebook, right? Like
Yeah.
there's been a lot of like development since Facebook was an idea to, get them where they are today. And so investors never know what they don't know. And some of that you get lucky. We have a company that we invested in early stage 2 years ago that was a startup that will do over $1 billion of sales this year. We had no idea. We look at the investment memo, it's like we got it totally wrong, but we just got lucky, right? And others, usually you don't know what's going to trip up the company. And you look at Liquid Death, which, that's not the one that is going to do $1 billion this year, but it has over $1 billion valuation. That's a company that it's not been up and to the right. There's been a lot of operational setbacks, a lot of just how do you get water at scale to people at home, both through grocery stores and Amazon and Walmart and all these things. And so we love entrepreneurs. That's the throughput of our life. We love people who can say, this doesn't exist. I am okay with being miserable for the next 10 years of my life, trying to make it exist and suffer through it all. Like there's no better way to spend your day and no worse way. That's the crazy. It's like there's no better ways where you find your passion and purpose. And every day is very annoying often.
I'm going to leave a teaser memento for everybody listening. The Gary Vee story is incredible. So you just get the book, go listen to it, whatever, because you guys tell it so great. But I love this idea that he takes, asks for space and takes over in this whole thing. And you guys give him your conference room and the thing's bursting at the seams. And I love these like behind the scenes inner working sort of stories. But Mike, you mentioned again the luck thing. And okay, here's what I'm going to ask you. Do you feel like when you were born, somebody somewhere waved a magic wand and just gave you guys extra luck? Or do you feel like in life, it is about positioning yourself in a way and making decisions so when opportunities arrive, you have the ability to be lucky?
So the answer is yes and yes. Like, Cass doesn't think that she was born with luck. I think I was.
I think I was born on third base. Don't get me wrong. I want to make sure that we both were.
Yeah.
But I think I make my luck happen. And I think you said it well, Dan, when you put yourself in a position to win, and winning's always going to take a little luck, right?
Yeah.
With tennis, it was always the net game. If it hit the net and dropped over, like I can't control that, but I can certainly put myself in a position where it happens or it happens for me. So we were always at bat, right? We always gave ourselves a chance. Mike thinks he was lucky because, and he might have, some angel looking out for him because he was in, congestive heart failure at birth. And then again, 2 years later, and then almost died when he was 19. So something is looking out for him, thankfully.
Yeah. Again, guys, the book, even that whole part oh my God, we could do this for 7 hours.
So glad you loved it. Appreciate it.
You talk about, luck when you're prepared. And to me, I go back to golf now. Here we are, full circle, all the way back to golf. When you're playing around, when you're watching around, some of these guys, Tiger Woods in these moments where you look, and sometimes the ball bounces left instead of right. And sometimes it's like, man, that putt just happened to, a breeze let it fall in the hole, and you've won a major, you've done these things. And sometimes the ball falls the other way. But the difference is, did you hit the green?
Right.
And there is no luck if you're over bouncing off a rake and you're near the tree.
That's right.
Okay, great. I'm not as close to the tree.
Exactly right. I've always said that being an entrepreneur is like playing a round of golf, right? You're going to, I'm saying for recreational golfers. I'm not saying like for the Tigers of the world. You think you're playing well one day, or you have for the last 5 days, and then you go and just have the worst round of your life. But there's always one shot that you remember. And that keeps us coming back.
Yes.
And that's it, is that entrepreneurs, people who run their businesses, run their teams well, they are okay with suffering. And golf is a game of, they said golf is a game of perfect. Or not a game of perfect. I think it's a game of suffering. And if you have the grit to suffer the bad shots, the bad rolls, and get yourself in the game, good stuff can happen.
Well, I feel like, it's so true. Golf is life. Life is golf. And some people who maybe never really got into the game, it's hard for them to understand it. But anybody who's played it for any amount of time has that sense of how it all connects back. And so I want to bring this back to golf a little bit more. Obviously, some of the investments you guys have made are incredible. Like we said, companies that people have heard of, all the way from, Facebook, SpaceX, Pinterest, so many more. We could keep going. But I want to touch on one in particular. And that is your involvement with the Grass League. And you guys invested and you own a team in that. So here we are, quite literally, if all of life is golf and golf is life and investments can be correlated back to golf, well, once again, they have. I'm so curious for you guys, why? It's this sort of bustling up and coming golf league, which I think is wildly cool and interesting.
Well, why, Mike? Why?
So this is a sore marital subject because I bought it without talking.
I'm bringing them all up. What am I doing?
I committed to buying the team without talking to Cass, which is very unusual. Like usually, but I got very excited. My friend Howard Lindzon, who, first money in Robinhood and eToro, great early investor and golfer. he brought it to me, and I just thought it was great, for the same reasons that you were talking about with like the state of golf today online. And Grass League is, for those who don't know, it's par three golf, high stakes, under the lights, primarily in Arizona and Phoenix, but we did an event in San Diego as well. And what's great is it strips the sport down to its nervous system. Every hole is a scoring moment. Every shot is a scoring moment. There's no long walks. It's all par threes. There's no layups, long drives. And it's basically the democratization of golf. The best part of last year's season is that the championship was won by a sibling duo, which many of us know, Ryan and Gabby Ruffles, who are baller golfers. I mean, these are like both of them, but Gabby in particular played out of her mind. And there are very few events that men and women can compete next to each other, like the World Series of Poker, for big stakes. And it's exciting. And it not only, we were one of, I think we were the first to commit, but Dallas is owned by Good Golf, and Dave Roberts, obviously a winner, right? World Series winner, manager of the LA Dodgers. He owns the Dallas team, the Los Angeles team, the Los Angeles Roses. Wyndham Clark, a winner. He's involved as an owner, tied to San Diego Munis. And what's great about golf, there's a room for traditional golf. We love traditional golf. We are saying nothing bad about traditional golf. However, we also like the street fight that is the Grass League, where it's two-person teams playing high stakes in a team environment under the lights with bands and DJs and bars and young people having a great time. And they can live together, right? Like you strip it all down, you can have both. It reminds me of the old like 60 Minutes, originally, where you'd have like inside Ayatollah Khomeini's like cave on the same show as like inside Marilyn Monroe's closet. Like golf has space for the
Yeah.
YouTube golfers, the creative golf tour, all the influencers, and traditional golf that we love and is never going away.
And think about this, Dan, like the first year that we owned the team and we went to the first big event in April.
What year
There
was
were
that?
not it was 2 years ago, right, Mike? So it was 26, 24, right?
Okay. Yeah. First event. Go ahead.
There were 9 holes in one.
Wow.
I saw 3 of the 9. And do you know what it's like to be standing at a green with a hole in one? Imagine 9 of those.
That's unbelievable.
It's so much fun. And Mike touched on it. They bring in a band, so at night it's this like incredible thing. But every like 3 holes, there's a DJ. And you like this is like fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cass, are you obviously, what touchy subject. I'm being careful
Yes.
here. But
Yes.
you weren't maybe a part of the early conversations, but are you on board now?
Oh, definitely. I'm definitely on board now. And we've had such a great time. And we have this incredible manager of our all players and has built this incredible team, Abe Candelaria. And we have players that are just good humans. And it's really fun, I think, for all those recreational golfers out there who like to watch the sport of golf. What's really, really cool as well is how close up you can get to these players.
Yeah.
And I've loved the part that I can ask them questions about practice. I can ask them questions like, I saw, on that par 3, you hit this. And it's just cool because they're walking with the crowds during the tournament, right? There's no like, roped off area where, the players are, they're just walking, right? And so it's like Mike said, it democratized golf. It gives everyone equal access. And I love seeing like some of the real grinders, the golf pros, right, that tried to make it on the tour,
Yeah.
lost their card, and then are grinding away and coming here. I love it.
It's that, I mean, you're so right in the fact that golf is growing in so many ways. And there are the people who can't wait to sit down on the weekend and watch the pros play a professional tournament. And then there are other people that just want to get out and book a tee time and go play with the buddies. There are people who are getting into the whole equipment side and they're becoming gear nerds. And
Right.
it's all these things. And we're looking at, places like PopStroke popping up and of
Yes.
course Top Golf. And it's this thing that, again, if we're going to talk about flubber and this like, sort of ever-changing shape of a thing, and here's what I love about it. Most people who are into other sports, you don't get to necessarily participate in it. Of course, everybody's going to tune in and watch the Super Bowl here coming up, but not many people are going to go out and play football later on that weekend.
Right.
But golf is this thing where we can do it. We can try, at least do our best. And every once in a while you sink a 40-foot putt that
Yes.
blows your mind. And to me, it is black tar heroin because that moment is,
It's just unreal. Yeah.
it's unbelievable. And to me, that's where the Grass League makes sense because it's just another place and way to enjoy it. And,
Right.
and the thing that I fell in love with it is what changes the game is, 200 yards and most shots aren't quite 200 yards. I mean, that's
Right.
would be the way back. If you take the driver out of the game, the playing field is way different once you eliminate
right.
the guy who can hit it 350 and the guy who's hitting it 278. And if we take that element out, okay,
It's equitable.
yes, let's play the attack portion of this
Yes.
game and really see how this shakes out. But in a scramble format, because now I'm not playing defensive golf, I'm playing go for it golf. Like
Go for it golf. And you guys are, these teams of two, they know exactly their pattern, their strategies.
Yeah.
And watching like the putter sequence, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's like they get into these rhythms and all of a sudden you're like watching two people in like this synchronization. It's really cool because you really can see it up close and personal. And I strongly suggest if anyone ever goes to Phoenix, drive over to Tempe. It's 10 minutes away. Play this course. They have it open every night.
It's called Grass
so cool.
Clippings at Rolling Hills.
Yes, Grass Clippings at Rolling Hills. Man, this is so, guys. I could just keep going. I have a million more questions, so hopefully we could do this again. But
For sure.
man, what a fun story. You guys are so interesting and so cool and inspiring. And man, I find you guys so pleasantly interesting. And I just want to thank you guys for taking this time and coming on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you for having
It's been
us.
awesome.
Well, folks, if you haven't yet, go find the book Shoveling Shit, a love story about the entrepreneur's messy path to success. Also, find out when Grass League is airing, wherever it is, find it and root for the New York Bluebirds. If you're going to pick a
Yes.
team, if you don't have a team yet, that's a great place to start. Man, how cool. I've yet to see it live. And that's something I need to do.
Come out with
Well,
us.
please be our guest.
Please be our guest. Please come.
I would absolutely. I'm taking you up on that. And here's the
Good.
problem: you just screwed yourself because now you're
Nope,
not going to be able to hear
it's going to
enough
be
from me.
awesome. You're going to love it.
Wow. Well, thank you guys again. I genuinely appreciate this and you guys taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our pleasure.
Well, that is it for the Dan Evans Show. An incredible episode and an incredible conversation right here on the one and only Sports Illustrated.